Welcome back to another In Exile GTR lap guide. This week it is the BMW M6 around Nurburgring GP track. To kick it off, I found that there was a lot of steering input required in this car, so if you're a wheel player, maybe not the ideal car. Controller players, this should suit you a little bit better. We had brake balance rear 2. I wouldn't start there unless you drive this car a fair bit. Probably start at +1 or 0 and then work your way to the rear as the car starts to rotate nicely for you. And without further ado, let's jump on board and get this cracking. And here we are on board, down to turn 1, hanging to the left hand side of the road for this right hand U-turn, braking just as the concrete ends here on the left hand side. As you can see, we've got a little shot outside the car here, pretty much exactly where that concrete on the left hand side is finishing. Deep threshold. It's going to be a nice little second gear trail brake, using all the road on the exit, really starting to feed the throttle in now. A little bit of wide in here, trying to get back to the right as far as we can before this left-hander. Just release the throttle, use a little bit of brake if you need to get the nose in. Keep the part throttle open, wide open throttle, just when you feel you're going to use all this green stuff on the right hand side. Another little stab on the brake, now just resting your foot on the brake, let the car come around, tiny little bit of coast to let the front wheels grip. Staying in second, now really trying to push the car out here, nice long half throttle if you can. A little bit messy on the exit there, but that's the line you want. You can use all of the road and some here at the Nurburgring GP. So once again, we're going to be braking when the concrete on the right hand side runs out. Quick little stab on the brakes, nice long trail down to the apex. Stab wide open throttle in here if you can. Now nice and gentle on the brakes, we're really not upsetting the car a lot of time in here. Crack the throttle for that late apex, and you can get wide open throttle a little bit sooner than you think there. The car will eventually come around with the right amount of inputs. Staying to the left hand side of the road for the shortest run. These are about the closest Gran Turismo braking marker cones we've got. We're braking just after those. They're about at the rear bar. We pick up 5th, but I was trying to hold 4th most of the time down here. Second gear for this right hand U-turn. You'll see a little bit of a release of the brakes to let the car roll through. I'm really looking for a late apex with where those tyre marks are on the ground for the eagle eyes. Using all that curb on the exit. Now we're going to use the curb on the right hand side for this turn in. Wide open throttle here, don't lift. Now let this inside curb shift the weight in the rear. Get the car swung around there nicely for you. And we're shifting up at about 219, 220k an hour. So I was using this little bit of runoff on the right hand side. I've noticed some people don't use it, so good lap times can be done with using it and not using it. Preference is all yours. A little bit of a wobble there. Now just using second to get the rear to rotate into the apex here. Back up into third, pushing the car out, wide open throttle, nice and early for this long straight. I have seen people using this curb on the inside. I think I skirt around it. Yeah, see how it feels for you. If you really want to use it and short the run down here, by all means. We're not braking anywhere near those cones, all the way to the 100 board there. It's going to be deep down into second, and we're going to jump both of these curbs. So just crack the throttle over the first one so the car settles. Punch a little bit of wide open there if you game in between them, and then a nice part throttle bouncing over the second one, and then wide open throttle on the exit. So braking just as those black tyre marks go onto the bonnet. We did use first here just to get the rear swung around. Most laps we were trying not to do that. A little bit of a shake on the exit. You're really trying to push the car out of there as quickly as possible. Really difficult lap this. I still don't believe I've ever done Group 3 here. So this was a learning experience myself. So when the concrete ends down into second. Keep that throttle open as you land there so the car doesn't unsettle. Tap on the brake to get the nose in if you need it. Wide open throttle and an upshift to third, nice and quick there. A little stab on the brake, a little bit of a coast in the middle here, staying in second. Nice part throttle coast there. Really trying to get on the juice early. The upshift to third there will lose your time, so try and hold second. Braking when the concrete goes under the bonnet on the right hand side. Not aggressive on the brakes through here, really trying to balance the car through that one, and early on the throttle for the exit for the long straight. So braking just as that ripple strip comes up onto the left hand side. We do a little bit of a brake release to let the car roll for that one. I found a late apex work for me. Experimenting is always the best. Trying to get through here, wide open throttle is worth a fair bit of time as well. Just work on your lines till you get through there. You don't have to use that runoff on the right hand side. You can if you would like to. Little bit of brakes there to get the nose down. Second to get the rear to rotate, and straight into third and wide open throttle for the exit. Looking for the 100 board just before it's just going to get to the bonnet line, and then we're going to be hard on down into second. Jump these with part throttle, wide open throttle in between if you can get it. The black tyre marks under the bonnet is my brake marker. First to get the car to rotate if it hasn't rotated nicely in second, and a short stab to the line. So on board now. In the chase view, we're looking for this concrete on the left hand side. That's where we're going to start our threshold braking. Can't remember if I put the tablet in for the chase view. Yes, there it is. So as the concrete is ending, that's where we're getting on the picks. 100 meter there board for reference. Keeping the car over to the left to open up the entry, rolling in second, cracking the throttle pretty much as we go down that step so the car doesn't unsettle itself. Trying to get back to the right hand side of the road to open the entry. Just a little brush on the brakes to get the nose down, a little bit of purchase on those front tyres. Wide open and short shift third to keep the grip and the momentum of the car rolling forward. Nice quick little stab, then a long trail braking section, little bit of coast in the middle there. Pick up the throttle, push it out of there in second. We're trying to achieve 50% throttle. We get down to about quarter there. Really use all the road and some on the exit. Hold second until it runs out. Shifting up in third at about 180, shifting up in fourth at about 220. Brake marker here is the concrete on the right hand side, just a little bit later than the Gran Turismo braking markers. We have found that we've started adding the cones, that the cone turn-ins and apexes seem to be fairly nice in Gran Turismo. It's the brake markers where you're going to find all your time. Part throttle, wide open throttle early for the exit here. Using all the green stuff on the exit. Holding that white line on the left hand side of the road for the shortest run. Down to this extremely difficult U-turn. So we're braking just after the Gran Turismo markers. A little bit of glare there in the footage. So here we go. You see they're just behind the rear bar a touch. So maybe start before those cones and just work your way deeper and deeper every lap. Into second and letting the car roll here for the shortest amount of times. That's about the only apex cone I'm not happy with. I think it's those black marks on the road just there. Those tyre marks on the exit is why I'm trying to apex that corner. Let me know if you've got a different apex. Wide open throttle through this S section. Using this curb on the inside just to help rotate a touch. Shortest line. We're going to move the car back to the right hand side. I use the runoff, but I've noticed a couple of people not using this runoff here for turn-in. Probably at your own discretion. Into third, nice little part throttle, keep the car rolling. Getting the tyres up on that curb on the exit gives you that little wiggle there. We just used a little too much road. Down into second to get the car to rotate, picking up third and wide open throttle, pretty much past that apex cone. Using all the road on the exit to the best of your ability. This lap was a little bit shaky, unfortunately. I was time limited and didn't get a better lap in, so this is the lap we'll have to use. Looking for the 100 board now, staying to the right hand side of the road to open up the last chicane. This is where all the time in this lap is. So braking here just before the 100 board. It's going to be down into second. We're going to have part throttle over both of these curbs, the first one and the second one, and a tiny little bit of wide open throttle in the middle there to keep the car rolling, and wide open throttle as we land the car. Now for this view, hopefully those black tyre marks in the middle of the road work as well. Not too bad. We use first here to get the car rotated. You can, I think it is better and quicker to hold second there, but we just didn't get the car weight shifted. Up into third on exit, and just a quick reminder, we're shifting up at 180 and 220 for the 4 to 5 shift. So onboarding quick mode now. So braking the concrete on the left hand side, opening up the entry, part throttle so the car doesn't shake when you land there. Lift off, turn in, a little bit of brake to get some purchase if you need it. Short shift 3 on the exit. Long braking section here. A little bit of a coast in the middle to help the car rotate. Part throttle, let the car settle. Push it out of there in second, hold second for a little bit longer than you think you need to. Braking when the concrete finishes on the right hand side. Into third, little stab of wide open in the middle here. No aggressive movements on the brake on the entry for that bad boy. It does unsettle the car quite a fair bit. And wide open throttle early on the exit. So this is one of the most difficult corners. I think the apex is those tyre marks going onto the car right now. So turning in off the curbs, using the curb to help the rear rotate. Back to the right hand side of the road. You can use this little bit of runoff or not, personal preference. Holding third with some cracked throttle. Try to stay off that curb as it gives you that little wiggle. Second to rotate the car down into there. Third on the apex to push the car away. Looking for the 100 meter board just before. It's going to be down into second. Part throttle over the first one. Part throttle over the second one. Wide open throttle everywhere else. Just as these tyre marks scoot under the car. First if the car doesn't rotate. Second if you've got in there nicely. And a short run to the line. So on board in bumper view now. As we make our way down to turn 1, looking for the concrete here on the left hand side. Just as the concrete runs out, that's where we're going to start our threshold braking. So just in between the 100 and the 150 boards, there's a nice shot, pretty much in line with that concrete. Angling towards the outside of the road to open the entry. We're going to be using second and part throttle to bounce down this step. If you don't have the throttle open, the car unsettles itself. Wide open once you feel the grip come back to the car, getting to the right hand side of the road as much as possible, using some part throttle for this left hander, a touch of brakes if the nose isn't biting, just a very slight touch. Wide open throttle in second and a short shift to third, a little stab on the brakes here to wipe off some speed. Then it's going to be a long part brake, a little bit of coast in the middle here just so the nose rotates around that cone nicely, keeping it in second. Wide open throttle for this short little stab here. Looking for 50% throttle there if you can get it. Pushing the car and holding second on the exit. Using all the road and some, well and truly over the white lines. Formula 1 will not be very happy with you. But Gran Turismo doesn't seem to mind. When the concrete runs out here on the right side, nice little stab on the brake. Long little trail down to the apex. Third, coast on the exit. Wide open throttle for a short little moment in here. And nice and gentle getting the nose down to this apex. Too heavy on the brakes, you're going to understeer. Not braking, you will understeer off the track using all the curb and the green stuff on the exit. Wide open throttle can be picked up a touch earlier than you think there. So braking just after the Gran Turismo braking cones down here. I was using this runoff just to help open up the entry. Not everyone does it. See how you feel. See how you like your car entry. There's a touch of a little brake release here in the middle just to let the car roll. This Gran Turismo cone, don't really like that apex. I think the apex is there. Using all the curb on the exit once again. wide open throttle nice and early. So these S's are wide open throttle as well. Turning in off the curb, using the curb to rotate the rear here in the middle. We're going to be moving the car back to the right hand side of the road. It's going to be a nice little stab on the brakes, drop 2 gears, and you may choose to or choose not to use that runoff there. Up over the curb I found was a nice line. Trying to stay off this curb on the exit gives you this little wobble if you use it. We just used a little too much there. Down to the second to help the rear rotate into here. Picking up third on the apex and pushing the car out. And this Nurburgring really does like you to use all the curb and the runoff on the way out of the corners. So shifting up at 180 and 220 I found to be reasonable shift points for this car. We're looking for the 100 board miles after where Gran Turismo says we should be on the picks. It's going to be down into second, and we want the throttle cracked to jump both of these curbs so the car settles. So release and get the throttle open, a little bit of wide open in the middle, release and wide open as we land. Just really trying to keep the car momentum through there. And braking. We were sort of understeering there, so we used first to get the rear to swing around for us. I think it is quicker to use second around there. Most laps were in second, but on this particular lap we used first. So you can use that old Gran Turismo short shift just to help the car rotate on occasion when you think you need it. So here we go, on board for fast mode. Concrete ends, angling to the outside. Second with the throttle open down this step so the car doesn't wiggle on you. Nice long part throttle, squeeze that throttle back in. Short shift third, using all the grass on the exit. Nice little stab on the brake, long decel section. Part throttle to get around this right-hander, using all the curb and everything on the exit there. Well and truly past the white lines, braking the concrete here on the right-hand side. Nice little stab of wide open throttle, gentle on the brakes here, just trying to keep the nose down. Swing the car, nice pendulum motion, and using all the curb on the runoff. Hug the left-hand side for the shortest run. I'm using that runoff for the turn-in. The apexes, the tyre marks on the road just there, according to me. Let us know if you think it's something different. Using all the curb for the turn-in. All the curbs through there for maximum speed. Car back to the right-hand side of the road. Using this little runoff to help me turn in. Some people aren't using that and achieving fairly decent lap time, so up to you. Trying to stay off a lot of these curbs, it makes the car wiggle. The exit curbs are about the only one you can use. The apex and entry curbs are a little bit aggressive. You can chop over that curb there if you like. I didn't find it necessary. Braking at the 100 board, second with some part throttle, wide open in the middle, jumping those curbs nicely. And this is about the only curb you use for turn-in. Second to help rotate, first to help rotate if required, and a nice little run to the line. Thank you very much, and I will catch you next time.